It's the Blues Rock Show with Pete Francis and Willie Whitten.
Welcome to the Blues Rock Show. I'm Pete Francis. Willie Whitten has the week off, but we have a very special guest today. Marc Broussard is joining us, and he's just released his new album, S.O.S. for Blues for Your Soul. Marc, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Pete. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, it is absolutely great to have you on. So, releasing this album on Keeping the Blues Alive Records, you've got Joe Bonamassa, Josh Smith, that team working with you. How did this collaboration come about?
Well, I called up one of my oldest, dearest friends in the world to kind of pick his brain about the project. My buddy Calvin Turner, who is now on bass with Joe.
Joe's touring band, yeah.
That's exactly right. I called Calvin up and, I was just picking his brain about the project. And he said, man, I've been doing some arranging for Joe these last couple of years. You might want to think about working with him on it. I know he's producing a bunch of records. And I said, man, that would be fantastic. Those are exactly the kind of guys I need for this project. And I said, look, do me a favor, grease the wheels a little bit. I'll reach out on my end and hopefully we see each other in studio. And that's exactly how it happened.
So what was it like working with these guys? Because there's a lot of heavy hitters on this album that you got to work with.
Man, honestly, working with these guys is probably the easiest and most wonderful recording session I've ever had. And I've had some great bands in the past. So no disrespect to the guys that I've had in the studio before, but these are some of the best players on planet Earth, period, bar none. And when you hire that caliber of musician, there's not really much you have to do or say to anybody in the room. You just kind of say, here's the tune, guys. Here's how we're going to play it. Let's go to town.
Yeah, it's kind of nice as a vocalist to have that luxury when you have an all-star band like that, for sure.
Oh, always, man. And look, like I said, I've had some great bands over the years. I've had some stellar players, world-class players in my band. And you're right, it is so much easier for a singer when the band is got everything on lock. I don't have to really think about much outside of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So it is a real nice luxury to have when you have it.
In what ways was the process recording this album maybe different than some of the other albums you've worked on?
Well, this album, we actually had to slow down. We were going too fast on day 1 and day 2. And the cameras didn't show up till day 4. So we didn't want to be finished recording by the time the cameras showed up. So we actually had to purposely slow down, take some extra breaks in the afternoon and, not worry too much about recording as much as we could. Because we were burning through it. I mean, we had, I think, 4 or 5 songs in the first day. And at that stretch, at that pace, we'd have been done by day 2.
I'm always curious when an artist is doing covers, what's kind of the process for you going and picking out these songs that you want to put on the album?
So this is the 4th time I've done this covers album project. This is SOS 4. And each time it's been the same. I basically ask all the stakeholders, whether that's the producer and the band and management, to make playlists and submit playlists to me. Because I'm the guy that has the final say ultimately, but I like to go through a bit of a democratic process to selecting the songs. So I tell everybody to make a playlist, and then I cross-reference those playlists for anything that might be on all the lists. Those are usually shoe-ins if they are on everybody's list. Management always wants more famous, more hit songs. The band always wants more obscure songs. So it's just kind of a marriage between those two desires and wants. And like I said, ultimately, I just get the final say. And it usually just boils down to what I feel like I can accomplish vocally better than not. So that's exactly how this playlist came about. It was just a matter of picking the right songs that I felt like vocally would showcase me the best.
Yeah, another one of the guests on the album, J.J. Grey, what's your connection with him?
Oh, I've known Jay for many years. He and I were actually in a project together called the Southern Soul Assembly. And I became very, very fond of him during that time and looked to him as sort of a mentor and a guiding voice in lots of areas of life, not just in music. But Jay has become sort of a confidant of mine, and someone that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And this particular song, it's a Howlin' Wolf tune. Um, Joe Bonamassa was like, "Look, man, I don't. No offense to anybody else, but I just don't think anybody else can do what you did on this song." And I said, "Well, if there's anybody that can do it, it's the guy that taught me how to sing Howlin' Wolf, and that's JJ Gray." So I think Jay did a bang up job for it, man. I couldn't be more pleased with that track.
Very cool. Now you mentioned this is the fourth SOS album. This is going for a pretty good cause. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, so each one of these projects, we partner with a charitable organization doing the work on the ground. Um, Joe, I think his organization had done some work with Guitars Over Guns. Guitars Over Guns is the name of the organization that we're working with for this project. And I think Joe's foundation had done some work with them in the past. So it was a natural fit for us to work with them. But each one of these projects, I've chosen a charity, specific charity to partner with. We've partnered with a homeless women and children's shelter out of Atlanta. We partnered with a children's hospital, a St. Jude affiliate hospital here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and now with Guitars Over Guns, basically just trying to stem the flow of prisoners into the prison industrial complex. Issues surrounding incarceration are great and many. There's no shortage of issues for the folks facing incarceration and their families, and so I wanted to try and do something to help stem some of the issues that these folks are facing. And that's why we chose the blues. That's why I initially chose the blues for this album. I figured if we're going to be doing a charity project for folks facing incarceration, that the blues would be on the order. And so that's why I initially chose the blues, and luckily that's why Joe jumped on board.
Yeah. When your name comes up, people always talk about you as just such a vocal powerhouse. Who are some of your biggest influences as a singer, and who are some artists today who really inspire you?
Well, I think Donny Hathaway is always going to top my list. He's been there at the top of my list for the last 20 years, and I don't see anybody shaking him off, to be honest with you. So Donny Hathaway is definitely my biggest vocal influence, followed very closely by Stevie Wonder, and then the list starts to get a little murkier. It starts to get a little weirder. James Taylor gets in there sometime around 15 years old. Led Zeppelin shows up sometime around 21. And then it's been a journey from there. From there, it's a real journey. I was definitely a vocal snob for most of my life. If you didn't have a good singer, or if there wasn't a good singer on the song, the chances of me listening to it were pretty slim. So once I was able to get over that, once I was able to get over myself and get over the fact that there are some pretty bad singers that sing some pretty incredible songs out there that are worth listening to, then my musical world really, really opened up. And not to follow that up with this guy who's a contemporary artist and isn't the finest singer in the world, but is one of my favorite artists in the world by far. He's topped my list over the last few years. A guy named Blake Mills, who I think makes some of the finest recordings I've ever heard. And really, the inspiration that I got from Blake was just to take bold chances in the studio, to make bold choices if the situation called for it. So I definitely got a lot more brave after listening to Blake's recordings. There's a band out of Winnipeg called the Brothers Landreth that I absolutely love.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah, I think Joey Landreth is easily executing at the top level that you can.
Well, and Bonnie Raitt won a Grammy for one of their songs.
Yeah, man, they're killing it. I've been hip to Brothers Landreth for about 4 or 5 years now, and they just keep getting better. The latest I saw was Joey doing a cover of one of my favorite songs of all time, a Jeff Buckley song called "Lover You Should Have Come Over," that I was in tears. I was sobbing the entire time I was listening to Joey perform that song. So there's a young lady by the name of Madison Cunningham that I also dig a whole lot. Very, very cool stuff, really unique sounding stuff. Some weird key changes and some off tempos and it's just very interesting, very intriguing music to listen to.
Yeah, you've got to collaborate with some great artists over the years. Is there anyone out there right now who, you haven't gotten a chance to collaborate with that you would really love to work with?
Man, I'm currently putting a project together, and I need a fifth member of the band. I've got some wonderful players in every other chair, and I need a fifth player on keys, and I'm dying. And this is, I know it's probably a stretch, but I'm dying to get Nora Jones on this project. I think it would be a blast to work with her.
Hey, put it out in the world. Maybe it'll happen.
Yeah. I'm going through some proper channels to try and actually make the overture.
Yeah, cool. So you've been in the game for a while. You've been putting out music now for over 2 decades. Do you think it's better for musicians now, the music business, or when you started your career?
Oh, man, I would say that it's not better. It's just different. It's very, very different. The challenges today are really just trying to get over the hump. And it's the same challenges as when I first came in the business 20 years ago. And it's just getting over the first hump, getting to a place where you have some semblance of a fan base that you can build from. For me, it was fairly easy because all I had to do was get on tour with Maroon 5. I got on tour with Maroon 5, and all of a sudden I had a fan base that I could work with, and that's probably very similar to today. You could probably get on tour with somebody and develop a pretty quick fan base. But having label partners and management partners and, a proper booking agent and all that stuff probably goes a long way to get you to landing a spot opening for Maroon 5. So it's just it's a very difficult time. You got kids going viral every day on TikTok and immediately being phoned up by the labels in Nashville and Los Angeles and saying, "Hey, we want to make you famous." So you have to kind of ward off those early advances. You have to sort of bite the bullet and realize like that those first offers are probably not going to be good offers. That the chances of you getting lost in the shuffle is very, very easy. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's easier or worse, but it's definitely different for sure. Because I've mentored a handful of younger artists over the last few years, and there's definitely a great amount of difficulty to getting started in this business, no doubt about it.
You mentioned TikTok. Do you think musicians need to be on TikTok these days? What are your thoughts on TikTok?
I don't really, I don't personally participate on TikTok, just because I'm already kind of, pegged to the other platforms. I'm already kind of working pretty hard to keep those platforms afloat. TikTok seems to skew a little younger as well. It's not necessarily my core audience. But I would say that, if you're starting out now, TikTok, the reason anybody is talking about banning TikTok in this country is because TikTok is currently eating Facebook and Twitter's lunch.
It's true.
It's eating and YouTube's lunch. That's the only reason anybody ever brought up.
That's why there's YouTube Shorts now and Instagram.
That's exactly
Reels.
right. It's 100% accurate. And TikTok is still eating their lunch. It's sucking up all the advertising dollars. And so those major American-based platforms have done their level best to poo-poo TikTok as a platform when they all do the same thing. They all track everybody's keystrokes and everything. They all do the exact same thing. That said, they are incredibly important platforms today, and can be a difference maker for sure. I've heard stories about kids getting signed with total creative control because they were driving so many streams from TikTok over to Spotify, and they get a massive record advance and they get total creative control. So if you can build an audience where you're driving 1 million streams a day from TikTok over to Spotify, then you can absolutely write your own check. So I think these platforms are incredibly important for somebody getting started. No doubt about it.
Yeah, well, we're talking about technology. One thing I want to bring up is AI, artificial intelligence, because it's been all over the news lately and it's making its way into the music business as well. You've got AI creating full-length songs now and writing songs. What are your thoughts on AI? Do you see it as a tool for musicians, or do you think it's going to be very detrimental?
Oh, I think that the smart money is going to be on those artists that are using AI as a tool to augment and refine their own writing process and their own recording processes. The same way that I think the smart money is there for visual arts as well. I think that more and more you're going to see visual artists using AI, basically inputting stuff, having it spit an image out, them going and messing with the image in Photoshop, spitting it back into AI, refining it, doing that several times back and forth. I don't see how that's inescapable in music as well. I think AI is here to stay, and you either get with the program or you get left behind.
So would you use that as a tool to help you maybe get ideas for songwriting?
Absolutely. I've used co-writers for my entire career. I don't see why using AI would be any different.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to follow. It's obviously been all over the news and it's impacting everything. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it impacts the music business. Well, Marc, it's been great having you on the show. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, my only concern about that is that is ChatGPT going to get half the writer's share is the question.
That is a good question, because the thing with ChatGPT, everyone's putting in these prompts into ChatGPT, but they have all the information that everyone's putting in. They can go see that whenever they want.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they've got the record. That's the thing, is they've got a record that their AI spit out a song. If that song goes on to hit #1, I wonder if the engineers at ChatGPT don't say, "Hey, give us half of that."
I mean, the legal ramifications right now at ChatGPT and creating music with it, it's going to be very, very interesting to follow.
No doubt about it, brother. Thanks for having me on, Pete. I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, definitely. This is Marc Broussard. Go check out the new album, S.O.S. for Blues for Your Soul. I'm Pete Francis. This is the Blues Rock Show. We'll see you next time.